second for the lag. We're going to go live. Okay, we are live for the 624 ZA hearing.
All right, thank you very much. This is the June 24th, 2021 zoning administrator hearing. I will call the meeting to order at 1:35 p.m. Effective March 27th, 2020, the Mendocino County Zoning Administrator meeting will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation pursuant to State Executive Order N29-20. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page. So, with that said, meeting is called to order at 1:35. Do we have a determination of noticing?
Proper notice has been determined.
All right, and then also I would note that this item is there's one item on the agenda. It is case U 2020-004. This is a continued item from June 10th, 2020. And this is, the owner is Golden Rule Church Association. The applicant agent is Cody Bartholomew. The request is a minor use permit for the conversion of an existing single-story 30-room motel into a 21-unit apartment complex. Proposed unit count is 9 studios and 10 one-bedroom and two two-bedroom apartments. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt under CEQA. The project is located 5.8 miles south of Willis City Center, lying on the west side of US 101, immediately north of its intersection with Black Bart Drive, located at 16,580 North Highway 101, Willits, California. Assessor's parcel number 147-170-03 and 147-180-14. All right. So this project was continued from the June 10th meeting in response to a letter that was received a letter that was submitted by a Mr. Joe Cooper, raising several issues, including noise, seismic, general plan, consistency, deed restrictions, water supply, and secret determination. And so the zoning administrator continued so that a lot of these questions could be answered. And I will go ahead and turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Nash, and thank you, Zoning Administrator Board, for continuing this hearing. As you mentioned, this is a continuation from a minor use permit hearing that was held on June 10th, and it was continued to a date certain, June 24th, in order to address both the posting and also the comment letter that was received as it pertained to environmental questions. So as a result, staff has prepared a memo that has been submitted as part of the record addressing the points that you just brought up, Nash. And the main ones are noise, seismic, general plan compatibility, deed restriction for affordability, water supply, and secret determination. And I'll just briefly go through the memo, and if there are any questions, you can refer to it. There are also some attachments that were provided by the applicant to help bolster some of the information that's within the memo. The first issue, and probably the most robust issue, is the noise issue, as the site is located pretty close to an active quarry as well as adjacent to Highway 101. So some of the things that were noted in the memo that are supported with notes in there refer to a draft environmental impact report that was actually prepared for the neighboring quarry, and we were lucky enough to be able to call some of the information there because they did some pretty good noise assessments, and actually one of the noise measurement locations was at the motel, which showed that even in the existing conditions without the addition of the quarry, that the existing conditions at the hotel were well within the standards set by the Mendocino County General Plan. Additionally, the rehabilitation of the existing motel is going to involve some upgrades that will just inherently provide some noise reduction, just part of, new windows, upgrading interiors, things like that you would expect to see in residential rather than short term. Also, there is, and attached to the memo, as I mentioned, there is a picture alongside the freeway of an existing berm that is also going to be included in a preliminary landscape plan, which is also attached, that will show some pretty robust planting with the aim of buffering the noise as much as possible. Additionally, the site design that the applicant calls a hacienda design, where all of the buildings kind of face to a central plaza and face away from the noise, will help mitigate some of that noise. But again, as stated, the draft EIR that's for the adjacent parcel says that there would be no impact, and we also agree as staff that there would be no impact presented by this project's entitlement for its adjacency to either the quarry or the Highway 101, and that's bolstered by our general plan exterior and interior decibel standards. As well, we talk about the seismic. I just really pulled from the staff report because at the entitlement stage, we note that it was in with a seismic study combining district. It is subject to the Alpes Criollo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act, and the regulatory agency that's typically charged with handling and administering this act and any other seismic or structural things is the building division. We have the utmost faith and confidence in the building division will get what they need from the project, and the applicant does understand the risk of building an earthquake country. So I feel that that's probably enough said there. Also, the general plan, the staff report did, in my view, contain a thorough analysis of the ways in which the project is in conformance with the general plan, especially the recently adopted housing element, and will provide some much needed housing for populations that really need it. The deed restriction for the hearing on June 10th, unfortunately, the public was not able to see the conditions of approval or the resolution that also accompanied the staff report, and so the letter writer wasn't aware that there was a condition of approval which did provide for a deed restriction, and it is the standard deed restriction for affordable housing. The water supply, there is attached a letter from the manager of the Ridgewood water system to support the adequacy of the existing water supply. And again, we have confidence in our colleagues in the environmental health department that they will work with the applicant to make sure there's adequate, robust water supply, sewage, and all of that that is necessary for residential development. Although we did note, and it is noted in the staff report that it is currently served by a water district, and there are wells on site, and there is a water tank. So we do feel that the site currently is adequately served. As to CEQA, the existing facilities exemption, I believe, is apt in this case. As stated in this memo, the key consideration is whether or not the project involves negligible or no expansion of use. While I accept there is an expansion of use, I do believe it is negligible. The unit count is going down, and also the buildings involved are expanding more than 50%, and therefore the existing facilities exemption is being met. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate the additional information. That really helps quite a bit. Also, the fact that there was a noise analysis that was cited that really refers to as having no impact onto this site, and so on. So thank you. So at this point, I'm prepared to hear from the applicant. Jim, can you go ahead and allow the applicant in?
Sure. Both of them or just one of them? I'll bring them both in.
Can you hear me?
Cody, good afternoon. Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. This is your opportunity to add any additional information. I'm sure you've been listening, and it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for your time, and I want to say thanks especially to Susan for the work that she's done. I think she did a fantastic job addressing some of those issues that were brought up, and we really appreciate that. Really in terms of addressing those issues, the only thing, that I would add to that, the concept was brought up that it seems like a complete demolition of the building and total new construction. I just want to make it clear that basically all of the structural elements of the building are going to remain in place. Almost all the exterior walls, the foundation, roof structure, are all staying in place. And so, and even some of the interior walls, what we're talking about is maybe capturing some of what is the front porch area into interior space and some outside lean-to structures, the actual expansion of the building that we're talking about. So it's very minimal. And we welcome and appreciate the public's concern for the health and well-being of, our potential tenants. That's something that's really important to us. And I think that any of our 220 tenants that we currently manage down here in the valley would really attest to that. And kind of to that point, a little bit of background on the project. We received the property in foreclosure, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. We were kind of talking about what should we do with it, should we sell it, what are our options, and obviously the easiest and most profitable thing is to fix up the motel and operate a motel up there, but we wanted to do something that was in line with the mission of our organization. So, we took a lot of time to really understand what the needs of the county are and how those can best be served with the property, and in particular this building. I say a lot of times, it didn't take very much time to figure out what the needs were and how best we could use this building. It's very obvious that housing was the greatest need, the best use. So at that time, we put together a really great team of qualified, experienced consultants and engineers and architects to really go into this, to identify the issues, that we did look at noise issues, water, structural integrity, and many more, to not only, have the confidence that we can fulfill the legal requirements of this project, but, most importantly for us, that we can provide a healthy and safe environment for them, in a place that people really would be happy to live in. And I think that, where we're at with this project, I have a lot of confidence that we've done that. We've gotten to the point where we've gone about as far as we can with that plan without knowing if this use is compatible and is acceptable or not. We've reviewed the conditions of approval, and we welcome those, and have every confidence that we can fulfill those, and we look forward to taking the next step and kind of digging in more into the details of this project and putting together the contract documents and working with the county to make sure this project fulfills air quality, environmental health, and the planning and building department's needs. But mostly we're really excited about moving forward with this project and looking forward to it.
Thank you, Cody, very much for that information and the insights. Ms. Kramer, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I really don't have much to add. I'm so grateful for all of your time, and especially grateful to Susan Summerford for all of the legwork that she's done. I think Cody has given a great overview, and I'm grateful to have him at the lead in this project. And I'm really excited to get started on developing this affordable housing up there. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to ask a question. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter?
I do not have any public comment on this case.
There are no requests for telephone on this item, and there's no folks in the attendees other than the applicant.
All right. Thank you. So I'll bring it back to the zoning administrator. And Susan, I want to say thank you for the attachments. It's very helpful because you brought up this berm, and there's a photo that's been included, and thank you, Cody, for providing it. I happened to be in Willis this morning, and I drove by the site, and I noticed the berm from the highway, and it's a pretty good size in berm and height, so it will assist in noise attenuation. There's already trees and vegetation growing on it. And then the landscape plan, I'm assuming that this landscaping that's being proposed is really most of it is on the inside, but there's this grass undeveloped area or this undeveloped area between the berm and the facility. So the question I've got for Cody or Lucy is there any landscaping that's going to be developed between the berm and the existing buildings?
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So luckily that berm is located actually really close to the existing building. I think it's just enough space for a comfortable backyard. And so, which as we understand is really good for noise mitigation. And so I feel like one of the quietest parts are going to be right behind that berm. And so I think it's about 14 feet in between the bottom of that berm and the back of the building, which is, I understand they're kind of preliminary designs, but you can kind of see in the landscape design. I think the thing that we're looking at adding that isn't is adding more vegetation to that berm, and then maybe adding the vegetation parallel to the highway, and so in between basically the highway and the berm to kind of continue to not only block the visual aspect, but the sound as well.
Right, and right, so the plants that would be between the berm and the highway will help to buffer some of that noise as well, and also just contribute to a better, aesthetic and atmosphere in that space. The landscape architect that we worked with has also recommended including essentially like plants and water features that block the sound or replace the sound. So kind of white noise creating plants and water features, which of course it is sound, but it makes for a more pleasant experience and atmosphere.
Okay, thank you. Susan, I have a question for you. Do we have a condition of approval for landscaping?
No. Julie and I discussed having a red line ready for that, and then I didn't prepare it, but I do think that would be appropriate. Thank you.
So I think we need to add a condition that a complete landscape plan be submitted as part of the building permit application and shall be reviewed and approved prior to issuance of the building permits. And that'll allow staff to do the approval and the review of the landscaping plan and how that landscaping plan will be integrated into the existing development, as well as to address some of the additional issues that Cody had brought up.
Okay, so that would be condition maybe 17 then, yeah? Okay.
The landscaping plan shall be provided to planning and building prior to issuance of building permit.
Got it.
I'm actually writing it down right now. All right, so as this is back to the zoning administrator, I've gone back and I've taken a look at all the information, the memo that was provided, and again, having that letter from the water provider, from the Ridgewood water system really helps, because again, they just substantiate the fact that there is water available to the facility. Had they come back and said, no, there's no water, or we see, grave issues here, that would have been a different story, but I don't see that here in the letter, which is good. We've got a photograph of a berm, we've got a landscaping plan, so I am, at this point, not seeing any additional public comment on this. I think that the information provided and what's contained in the memo addresses the issues that were raised at the June 10th meeting. and so I am prepared to approve the project. However, I'm going to modify the project findings. Finding number A, or letter A, says that the establishment, maintenance, and or operation of a use or building applied to is conforming with the general plan. I'm going to add an additional sentence at the end where, just before it says, as such, this finding can be made, the sentence before that will read, additionally, based on the additional discussion regarding seismicity contained in the June 24, 2021 memo to the zoning administrator, the project is consistent with the general plan. Okay, and I'll provide that to the clerk. Moving down to finding C, that such will not, under any circumstance of the particular case, constitute a nuisance or be detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working or in passing through the neighborhood of such proposed use, or be detrimental or injurious to property and or improvements in the neighborhood or to the general welfare of the county, provided that if any such building or use is necessary for the public health, safety, or general welfare, the finding shall be to that effect. So again, going down, and it would be the last sentence, just before this finding is satisfied, I'm going to add additional language that says, additionally, based on the discussion contained in the memorandum dated June 24, 2021, to the zoning administrator addressing the response to comments, the site will not be substantially impacted by noise, seismicity, or will have water issues based on the 622-21 letter from Ridgewood Water System. So I just wanted to go ahead and capture that in the findings. Other than that, those are my only two changes, and we are adding condition number 17 that says, a complete landscape plan shall be submitted for review and approval to planning and building services prior to issuance of a building permit. Cody, Lucy, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. So with that, I will go ahead and approve your project, subject to I'll just say, subject to the modification of the findings and the modification of condition, adding condition number 17.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes this item. And with that, thank you, staff, for your diligence, and thank you, applicants, for your diligence in addressing those questions. Very, very helpful. So with that, I'll go ahead and move over to item number 4, matters from staff. I don't see anything.
We have no matters from staff.
Thank you. Matters from the public. Is there administrator welcomes participation? Do you have any matters from the public? Seeing none. Unless anybody has any issues, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 1:58 p.m. Thank you very much, and Cody, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yes, thanks for providing all of that information. That's what really helps, so.
Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you, guys. We're excited.
At the bottom of the agenda, I'm going to note this, there is an appeal process, so anybody wishing to appeal the zoning administrator's decision can do so within 10 days of the ZA's decision.